Welcome to Tales from the Jar Side, the video series. Don't feel like reading my newsletter this week? That's okay, I'll read it to you. So let's dive right in. My name is Ken Cousin, and I am the owner and president of Cousin IT Incorporated. So the title this week is Tales from the Jar Side, AI and Canva Create YouTube Shorts, big sale on my book, The Awesome Mac Whisperer, Fixing my Substack notifications, questionable uses of AI, and tweets and toots. The subtitle is, What do you call a dog that does magic? A labracadabrador. Forgot again. Here we go. There we are. Welcome, fellow jarheads, to Tales from the Jar Side, the Cousin IT newsletter for the week of May 7th through May 14th, 2023. This week I taught my latest features in Java course as a no-fluff, just stuff virtual workshop. Regular readers of and listeners to, and of course video viewers of this newsletter are affectionately known as jarheads and are far more intelligent, sophisticated, and attractive than the average newsletter reader or listener or viewer. If you wish to become a jarhead, please subscribe using this button. Of course, we don't see it here because I'm already subscribed. If I take a look at the Tales from the Jar Side video channel, you see there's a subscribe button there as well, although again, I'm subscribed, fortunately. Looks like we're up to 276 subscribers now, hopefully building up on our way to that 1,000 subscriber level required by YouTube. Of course, the 4,000 watch hours, that's going to be a lot harder. Any rate. Let's start off by talking about a YouTube short on the benefits of using Mockito. Now, I posted this. Let me refresh the page here so that you can see it the way it appears in the newsletter. I posted this last week. And it says top 10 benefits to using the Mockito testing framework as a short. Since I have the Tales from the Jar Side website open, you could see it here. And this was my first attempt. And I got to tell you, I don't have too many YouTube shorts, but it looked like this Canva tool made it pretty easy to produce them. And therefore I did it. Let me just play it for a moment and then I'll stop it, just to give you an idea what it looks like. Don't know if you could hear the music, but there's some pleasant music in the background. It's not a great job. The Mockito in the background, Mojito, pardon me, in the background is a little distracting. I had to put a colored background over the text to make it readable, and that got a little awkward. Also, I seem to have forgotten that there's margins. You know, that YouTube is going to put things over the margin. If you look at this on a phone, then this set of icons here winds up directly over the edge too. So that too is a little bit awkward. But hey, you know, for a first attempt, and what I really want to talk about is that I was able to use ChatGPT and Google's Bard, as a matter of fact, to try to produce this. Now, as I mentioned here, I used Canva. Now, I have Canva open in a separate window, but just to show you what this looks like, here's canva.com. And I'm logged in and I have an account and everything, but you can design documents or presentations or social media posts. And if I go to videos, for example, there's a whole set of themes on mobile video. I could click on the little Browse Templates button and see all these different possible video templates that are ready to go. Okay, so going back here, it said the real neat part was, and I was watching some YouTube videos on how to do this, Canva includes this tool called Bulk Create. And what that means is that you could produce like a whole set of data in a table and then paste that table into Canva and it will generate a separate page for each row in the table. So the idea was to use your AI tool of choice, and most of the demos use ChatGPT, but I tried Bard as well, and ask it to generate a table with the values you want, and then you have to ask for a table. Now this is what I wanted to show you here. That one, yeah, okay. So as an example, I wrote in here, give me 10 benefits of using Mockito the Java testing framework that can generate mock stubs and spies for your dependencies, set their expectations, and verify that methods in the dependencies were called the right number of times with the right arguments in the right order. Put the reasons in a table where the columns are number and benefit. Now, over in the newsletter, I showed that question. And then here's what the reply looked like. And to my surprise, when it showed me the table, it actually introduced titles for each of the entries in the table and rendered them in bold. So I followed up by saying, please reformat that table, extracting the benefit name, which you rendered in bold, into a separate column, but with the same information. And here's the resulting table with the column added called benefit name. So I've got number, benefit name, and description all the way through. Now, I did make a comment that I don't know why I keep saying please to AI tools. I mean, mostly habit, or as I say, maybe I'm more concerned about getting on their good side before the great robot uprising than I'm willing to admit. Okay, so then the key is to go back to Canva, and once you have a design in process, you can click on their bulk create tool, and you get a little window that looks like this. So you can enter the data manually or upload a CSV file. Now, what I did is that, frankly, I just highlighted and copied, as many as I could, basically copied the whole table here, and went into the tool, and when it showed me this little mini spreadsheet, after I hit enter the data manually, I just click on the first element and paste in, and everything wound up inside the table, much as you see it here. So when I clicked on done, then it gives me a little window that actually there's a step similar to this before this that says, okay, let's look at the data, and it's showing me all the data imported here. You don't really need to be able to see the details. It just shows up. Then once you're making a design, you right click on each text field that you want to assign to the data. And when you right click, there's a little entry that says, match up with the column name, basically. I mean, I think I have it here. So there's the example. Here's one where I was already working on it. This was the same set of data, very similar, that's going to go to some kind of LinkedIn carousel. And when I right click here, actually, I think I've already selected it. So let me go back a step to here's benefit name. And when I right click, it says connect data, and there's benefit name or number or description, right like this. And then you hit continue, and it makes it to that third step, which I guess I have to click on to get to see it. And then I can click generate 10 pages, and it'll create them all one by one. And you can see I added some myself, and I put in some animations and all this stuff. And it was easy, remarkably easy. So that's how I made the new one, which is better, still not great. Here, I'll show you that one. Let me turn off the sound. Well, actually, you get the idea that I'm better able to handle the margins and making it a little bit more formatted. And I'm using the gradient background, and the Mockito in the corner isn't quite as obtrusive, and all of that. I have to tell you, my son, who is my official or unofficial social media consultant, was kind of appalled. Now, he liked the idea and he liked what I did with it, but he was like, you never try to stuff all 10 of a top 10 list into a minute-long video. That's just not going to work. And that is, in fact, the big problem with this, is that the text scrolls by too fast for people to read. He was like, make it 5, and then that will slow everything down enough that people will be able to read it. And he says most people watch videos at double speed anyway. And all right. So, okay, I'm still learning, as we say. So I still had to go tweak all the individual elements. And this is another lesson I'm learning. It's I've got to figure out how I can update the individual, the template page before I generate all the pages, because then it's a pain to update all the individual pages. But I'm getting better at it. I'm getting quicker at it. And I hope to take advantage of this in the future. And there's a little link in there in case you want to see the YouTube video. So I mentioned the only problem is there isn't enough time to read each reason because I had to pack 10 reasons, 11 counting the bonus, into 60 seconds, and that's only about 5.5, 6 seconds each. So next time I'll put in 5. Of course, the real question is if you look at these benefits, are they in fact realistic? Are they benefits that make sense? And, now that I've looked through them a few times, I'll say, yeah, I mean, pretty much. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Again, it's kind of salesy for my taste, but I'm not great at salesy stuff. Might as well have an AI tool generate all that for me. So, at any rate, that was, I spent a lot of time on that sort of stuff this week, and I wanted to mention about it. If you're interested, there are dozens or maybe even hundreds, maybe thousands of YouTube videos that show you all the steps and how to do this. You just look for, search for Canva and bulk create and YouTube short or LinkedIn or whatever, Facebook, and you'll just be overwhelmed with the number of them. I did point out a couple of channels that I thought kind of highly of, not in this section here, but at any rate, I'll get to that. If not, if I don't see it here, I'll show it to you later. Yeah, okay. Now, the next section is on a new article that we posted in Medium. The reason we posted that article this week is that there is a sale going on at Pragmatic Programmers on Mockito, so on my book. So, for example, if I let's go to pragprog.com, and you see my book is still showing up in the new releases list, although this moves over by one slot each week. So I've got one more week to be in that slot, and then I'll fall out of there. But the point is that down here they list the newsletters that have come out. And if I look at 50% off spring sale week 6, then I can magnify that a bit, and you could see that it's Tools School, whatever that means. If you use Tools 2023 at checkout, you get 50% off. And book number 2 here is Mockito Made Clear. There's one on Vim, Python testing, small, sharp software tools, JUnit, Antler, Go, and RSpec. So at any rate, if you're interested, those are there. And just use the coupon code here, Tools 2023, and that's why I've been interested in putting up all this marketing stuff. So at any rate, we decided to move up one of my scheduled Medium posts, and it was the one called "The Argument is the Mockito Answer," which shows up here, and it's about how to make a method in a dependency return a value based on its input argument. In my case, I just wanted it to return the argument itself, and that I, by the way, made a video about a couple of weeks ago, so I embedded the video in there too, so you can take a look at the video if you want. And I talked about this service which had a repository, and what I wanted to do was to grab each person in the argument here, and in the save method in the repository, return that person that I'd already created. And I talked about how it was actually kind of awkward to put them out there in order, and in fact what I really wanted was the answer interface. So feel free to take a look if you want. It actually gets pretty simple once you get past the basics, and enjoy. The sale extends till Wednesday, so feel free to take advantage of it if you haven't yet. Let's move to the next section. Now this was a really good use of AI, and every once in a while I've been finding some nice ones. I spent way too much time watching YouTube videos about Canva and other AI tools, but then I came across this video here. Let's click on that. I don't want to play it, but it's called "Make Near Perfect Subtitles for Free on Your Mac with Mac Whisper." So let me close that. Here is Mac Whisper, the website. There's some animated stuff up here, which is mostly just distracting. But the idea is you download this program for a Mac and you give it a video or even a URL for a YouTube video, and it will generate a transcription for you. Now, the tool here, as they point out, is based on an open source project called Whisper. If I click on that, this is in a GitHub repository, whisper.cpp, and it's very typical of developer-written open source tools, and that it's command line driven. It's got lots of flags. It's a little awkward. It gets very technical, in the documentation and how to use it. But it is based on OpenAI's Whisper speech recognition tool, and it does go through the whole thing and figure out what the transcript is. So this is nice, but I have to admit, I thought the wrapper here that was made, the Mac Whisper wrapper, was very, very nice. In fact, this is what it looks like. Here's the UI coming up here. And you can open a file or make a recording yourself or record app audio. And for example, I did this on one of my earlier videos. And if you look at that, oh, it's now transcribing it. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. But at any rate, it'll show you the transcription here. And I saved it. I exported it as an SRT file, went to my video at the website. So back here at the YouTube channel, you can see that one actually has a little CC on it because I uploaded the SRT file once I cleaned it up a little bit. I did have to do some cleanup to make it work well. But I was very pleased with it. Now, the other detail here is you see the size of the model. They have tiny, base, small, medium, and large. When you use the free tool, you can only use tiny and base, and I think the rest of them come with the Pro subscription, which is still only like $20. I mean, it's not a subscription. It's a one-time purchase, which is like, thank goodness these days. Of course, he is building on an existing open source project, but still people would have made a subscription tool anyway. Let me close that. So at any rate, that described everything, and I talked about how I had to make some slight changes to it, and I went and paid for it and everything, and I think it really is nice, and I was pleased with it. Next section. Now, that was the good use of AI. Let me talk about some increasingly questionable uses of AI, really some ethically controversial choices. This one talked about some videos that talked on YouTube about how to create a faceless YouTube channel. Faceless means, in that context, that you have a channel that has information on it, but no person appearing in the video. So you don't, like when I make my videos, obviously you see I have a little face in the corner, which I can move around if necessary. And I don't normally go full screen or anything like that, like a lot of people do, but I don't normally do that. The idea is to make a faceless channel, and even to make it so the voiceover can either be you, or in fact, you could generate a script and then have a fake person read it, an avatar or whatever. And there were a bunch of them that were talking about, okay, this is all a profitable niche, so let's really use the AI tools here. And what it did is it said, first of all, one of the videos I watched is like, okay, let's find out what we're going to make videos about. And it's search for profitable YouTube niches. I mean, like, they didn't even care what they were making videos about. They just wanted to know the ones that made money. And got a list and got a bigger list, and then said, well, okay, all those top level ones are going to be big and they're going to be filled. So try to narrow it down and look for sub niches in there. And one of them did at least say, try to pick one you care about, but some of them weren't even that clear. They just went for whatever they could find. And then they said, hey, ChatGPT, give me 10 video ideas for this tiny little sub niche, and it would spit out 10 ideas, and then it would say, okay, for this particular video idea, generate a script for a short video. And it would. And the one they were doing, and I'm not showing it here, but the one I was watching was about, they came up with personal finance, and that was too big an area, so they actually narrowed it down to getting out of debt. And they came up with like 10 ideas there, and one of them was a personal story about getting out of debt. So it had the developer had ChatGPT generate a script for that and change the I to a Jane, just somebody's name, and then went to Canva and made some pictures that satisfied this and just grabbed stock photos of a woman who's going to be presumably Jane in this scenario and created the channel assets and the banner image and a watermark and everything and a thumbnail. And then they uploaded the script. Now, this person I was watching actually read it themselves, but one person was just saying, no, we'll just upload to this site where you can pick an avatar and pick a voice and they'll narrate it for you and then upload the resulting video to YouTube. And of course, where's the money going to come from? In order to make money on YouTube, you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, the 4,000 watch hours in the last year. So that's not going to happen quickly. Instead, they were saying you register with affiliate marketing sites so that you can recommend certain items. And if even 0.1% of people click through, then if you get enough views, that turns out to be a lot of money. Now, that's a gamble, right? I mean, what if nobody clicks on it? See, this is what happened with Amazon Kindle, is that it became so easy for AI tools to generate worthless Kindle books that people would generate 50, 100 books, maybe 200, upload them, and then sit back and wait for the royalties to roll in. And the result is you just swamped Kindle's library with worthless books that nobody ever bought. I suspect that's what's going to happen here too, although we'll see. Now, the really blatant one, the one that was the worst, was the one that said, oh, okay, what really makes money on YouTube? And it turned out they figured out it was personal interviews with celebrities, especially if they were controversial people. So this person found an interview with some right-wing crazy person. I mean, just, who was apparently rather well known, and they didn't care about the politics or what was being said. All they cared was that it got a lot of views. So what they did is they said, well, I want to make little clips of this and make a YouTube channel that just features tiny little clips from these other interviews. And I even can put a reference back to the original interview. And I'm like, wow, this is terrible. And then they went on and said, well, I don't want to listen to this whole hour-and-a-half interview to pick the clips, but generally the people who put up the channel will do that for you. And he found that they had like already 3 or 4 minute sub clips of the overall interview with those stories. So he would grab one of those clips and he'd run it through another tool where he could download it and then cut out all the spaces and shorten it down to about a minute or something, really get it down to the essence there and upload that and put some clickbaity title on it. And his entire channel was a series of clips of interviews from lots of other people. I mean, what was his contribution? His contribution was to figure out what to cut out just to get it down to this tiny little clip. But it was everything was everybody else's work. I mean, it just was really appalling, I thought, and there was a total lack of awareness that this was not necessarily an ethical thing to do. But, if there's money to be made, his big sale point of all of this was that if you get the right affiliate marketing and you could advertise some of these items and you get people to click through, you can make millions. And money pressures will make otherwise ethical people act unethically, and to say nothing of what it does for people who are unethical to begin with. So, of course, what's going to happen, presumably, is the same thing that happened to Amazon's Kindle library, is that there will be thousands and thousands of YouTube channels that nobody will ever watch, that'll just become garbage. And YouTube, the good stuff, can get overwhelmed with this spammy type stuff. And we'll see. At any rate, I'm not going to do that. I mean, even though, of course, you see the numbers and you start getting tempted, it's like, no. I can't produce things I don't care about. I have to care about it or I'm just not going to be interested. So I thought I'd show you that because it came up a lot this week. And let's move on to the next section. Okay, Substack App Settings, or sometimes I'm an idiot, although as it turns out, maybe I'm not as idiot as much as I thought. I had this problem on Substack in that I was getting notifications in the app for new posts, but not in my email anymore. And that seemed weird. And I was like, where's the email? I'm waiting to get this newsletter. And Substack's all about newsletters, obviously. And what I found, I posted this note if you will. Since Monday, several of the Substack newsletters I subscribe to are only showing up in the app instead of email. Previously, they did both. Did something change? Is anybody else seeing this? And I posted it. One person said, yeah, I'm seeing that same behavior too, not sure what to do about it. And finally, somebody pointed out, just go to the settings and under notifications, there's a little button that says smart notification, and that's what was checked, meaning getting notified in the app or email and not both. And of course, what they meant was in the app. And I had to switch it back to in the email and app, for example. And this is what it looks like. If I go to my Substack newsletter here and go under settings, then you can see it right away. There it is again. How would you like to receive new posts from your subscriptions? And there's the setting. And I've moved it now to in email and app, if you will. One person, however, responded on Substack, and she pointed out, I'm not using her name in case this turns out to be incorrect. She pointed out that when you install the app, its default setting is smart notifications. So it may not have been anything I did. It may have been just when I installed it on my brand new iPad, then I wound up with smart notifications and stopped getting email. I don't know. I thought I'd forgotten. And of course, I made the comment that whenever I make a mistake like that, a really silly, easy one, I try to tell myself what I often tell my students. I never mind a question that's easy to answer. You know, someone asks me a question and then it's embarrassingly simple to answer. I go, no problem. I don't mind the questions I can answer, right? I mean, that's fixed. It's done. You know, that's why those gotcha interviews that some sleazy radio stations or news programs will do in the street and say, ask people the capital of this place or, where's this country located or things like that, and wait for people who don't know the answer so they can make fun of them. I'm always like, that's such an easy problem to fix. If they don't know where this place is, you then tell them and then they know. I mean, what's the point of all this? I guess, trying to make fun of the educational system when there's plenty of things I learned in school that I've forgotten by now. At any rate, I try to take the same attitude when I make a mistake. Hey, that's an easy fix. Just click here and now it's done. So great. It's not like that one I did last week about logging listener. And if you look on Stack Overflow, here is that question and it still has no answers. And I'm not going to start a bounty for it. When I see a bounty, I keep thinking of mutiny on the, so let's move on. When I found that out, by the way, I did add a response to my note with the right answer. So don't worry, I didn't leave people hanging. Let's move on to the tweets and toots. The first one was an image inside a tweet, and it said, no hipsters, don't be coming in here with your hairy faces, your vegan diets, and your tiny feet, and your sawdust bedding. No, wait. Hamsters. No hamsters, right? Which is great. I just put in dirty, unwashed little animals, but cute though. I thought that was pretty funny. This one, I put in the title, Why Not You Indeed? It said, again, follow your dreams because unqualified idiots are paid to do things they shouldn't be doing every day. Why not you? And yeah, a lot of them are making these faceless YouTube channels, frankly, and now they're using AI tools to try to make money. The coronation went on last week, and I didn't watch any of that. It was early in the morning. I didn't really care. Some of the people I followed cared very much, but okay. But this was the best tweet I found, was from my friend Todd Ginsburg, who pointed out, this whole process seems a lot more complicated than the game of checkers led me to believe. King me, right? I thought that was great. This one was dialogue from the Wizard of Oz. Dorothy, oh no, my house killed someone. Glinda, it's okay, she sucked. Dorothy, who are you? Glinda, I'm a good witch. Dorothy, are you sure? Glinda, yep, now let's steal that dead bitch's shoes. Like, okay, let's move on. This was great. This little image appeared in I think it was in a Mastodon post. And it's basically an evolution diagram pointing out that here's a series of animals and there's birds way over here, and chickens appear, they're part of birds here. Eggs, of course, existed way back in time. Turtles, lizards, snakes, and crocodiles all hatched from eggs. So obviously the egg came first rather than the chicken, which is like, well, once you put it that way, it seems very, very obvious. Now, if the real question is, well, which came first, the chicken or the chicken egg, then I still would argue it's the egg, because the egg was laid by something that was not exactly a chicken. One mutation away from being a chicken, and the mutated baby was a chicken. So it's still egg first. But I like this little diagram. That was great. This sweatshirt was great. Rage against the machine learning, Rage against the dying of the light. Yes. So at any rate, I did look online, and of course those shirts are available somewhere, but I don't know that I'll actually buy it. But I thought that was great. This one on a fashion victim, it said, emergency room, me dying on the table. Doctor, I've never lost a patient, and I'm not going to. Notices my Crocs. Time of death, 10:05 p.m., right? I've never actually worn a pair of Crocs. I got to try one on just to see what all this fuss is about. So many people who hate it. At any rate, that was the newsletter for this week. I've got, I had for last week, I guess, but I mean, that's this week's newsletter. This coming week, I have a no fluff, just stuff virtual workshop on Spring Data and the Java Persistence API, which I suppose now is the Jakarta Persistence API. And I've got to, believe it or not, fly all the way across the country to California just to give a Java upgrade course moving from 11 to 17. I can't believe they wanted me to come all the way across the country for a one-day class and then fly all the way back. But hey, we'll see what happens. At any rate, that was the newsletter this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment, share, and or subscribe. And I will see you all again next week. Take care, everybody.